What's up, guys? It's me, Gearholic here. We're going to be coming at you guys with a new review today. But today it's going to be a little bit different. Actually, it's more of like an observation and more of my understanding of fire and my collective methods of how I've done fire in the past and just from my experiences. So it's more of like a review on fire starting and fire tender or carrying fire in general wherever you go, whether it's on backpacking trips or if you're in the backyard or whatever. These are either fun ways or interesting ways or new ways to carry fire with you, because it's obviously one of those main resources that you always need in any kind of situation. It's always good to know how to start a fire in most situations. Uh, you know, just in case you run into those issues where your lighter doesn't, your lighter fails on you, or because a lot of people I feel like depend on the lighters, and these are really good. And obviously, I like lighters too because they do make life very easy. Excuse me one second. So they do make life really easy for actually starting fires and making fires. So lighters are an excellent choice. But what do you do if this fails? Obviously you have to have a backup method. And I think a lot of guys out there already kind of know that. A lot of guys that are probably watching this video already probably know that. This video is probably going to be more for people that don't really know anything, or if you're looking for a decent review on some of my top choices for fire starting, and just what I've gotten over the years or what I've collected and what the methods that I've found work best for me. Um, so let's get into it. So basically, here, as you see on this table, I got a wide variety of different types of fire starters and different types of methods of fire. I guess I'll start off with my favorite types of methods. Obviously, I prefer lighters. Lighters are a lot easier. They're a lot more compact. They use a lot less energy, and obviously they do a better job at making fire than you can, on your own. It's an instant flame. You don't really have to worry about it. It can endure pretty much harsh environments, and will usually generally always work if taken properly care of and kept in a nice dry sack or area, or in your pocket inside of a plastic bag or something, so you can easily access it, get it out and use it when you absolutely need to. I prefer these little Bic lighters. These little tiny ones as I prefer to the bigger ones, just to save weight and obviously space. Because carrying the big ones isn't bad. It just, my preferred method is carrying these little ones. And a little pack of these, I'm not sure how much it costs, but it's not anything too substantial. Nothing that would break the bank. And you get like a bunch of them. I think you get like 5 or 6 in a pack, or maybe less. I don't remember how many it came in the pack that I got, but these are decent little lighters. You can pretty much strap them on to anything, whether it's a survival tin with some rubber, some tubing or whatever. You can slip that on and then attach it to anything really that you wanted to, and it's going to stay secure. And then maybe put this or wrap this in a plastic bag and put it in your actual pocket. That's just my primary method, is these little Bic lighters, and they work really good, for me. Generally once they're done, I usually take them and actually cannibalize them, and I use the ferrocerium rods out of the actual lighter itself for other lighters or for other uses. There's always more usages for this, if you just gotta be really creative. And maybe it might do a video on my other uses or other things that I found you can use this for after it's done, because you don't really want to throw away too much garbage out there. And don't ever throw these out if they stop working in the environment that you're in. Don't throw them out. I've seen a lot of these thrown out on trails and different things where people have just given up on them, or they were smoking and they dropped them, and just like, try to pick up after yourselves out there, guys, because it's really bad. We need to eliminate garbage everywhere. Obviously, so if I have a lighter and that fails, I usually go to my backup system. My backup system is usually ferrocerium rods. This is a Light My Fire Swedish Fire Steel. This is the 2.0, which is the only version they really carry now. I think it's an upgrade over their older models. I'll actually do a separate review on these actual ferrocerium rods, just in my experience. Obviously, this one is very well worn. You can tell that I've put a lot of love on this thing, and it's actually corroded a little. and I'll talk a little bit more about the ways that you can actually prevent corrosion in this video, and I might hit on it a lot more in a separate video. Basically, this is the Scout model, and I believe you can strike it over 3,000 times. It has a 3,000 strike capability, which is great. Ferrocerium rods are a great backup for wet environments, or for if you're running into, if for some reason your first system fails, you got a secondary system to back that up. And usually I use this as my secondary system. I generally like starting fires in this method. I usually get this and a nice cotton ball, and you can take cotton balls and wrap them in Vaseline, and then strike that and use that to actually light a fire. I generally prefer to strike onto the actual cotton ball itself and then build on top of that. I have in the past actually used this is jute twine, which is really good stuff. It's really lightweight, and you can pretty much wrap it around anything. And I've found that it's very useful because you can make little bird's nests out of it, and it's also a natural cordage, so you can use it to pretty much wrap down anything you want. And then if you need it, you cut a section of it, tie a knot in the end, and then just pick it apart and make it into a bird's nest and then light it. I usually cut like a 4-inch section, and that works really, really, really well because this can get wet, and you can just wring it out or put it inside your coat or pocket, and within minutes, or even in your hand, you can squeeze out the liquid and hold it in your hand, and eventually it will dry over time using your body heat. So you don't have to really worry about this getting wet, because nothing will really happen to it. Because its natural capabilities of de-soaking. Of course, it's not the preferred method for most people, but I think it works for me really well. I like jute twine. It's got a lot of capabilities and a lot of applications, and you can carry it pretty much anywhere. Another method of lighting, not necessarily with the fire steel, but with the lighter. You can light this. If you can get it going with a ferrocerium rod, you're more than welcome to. But if you light this inner tube, bicycle inner tube, it will burn for a substantial amount of time and give you a little bit more time to actually build your fire. I have used this before, but I feel like you shouldn't use this method unless you absolutely need to. I wouldn't recommend this to be your main method, just because the black smoke and things that this inner tube gives off are very toxic for you and for your environment that you're in, and we want to try to prevent burning these as much as possible. But these are really great in a pinch when you have nothing else to burn. So I'm not saying these are bad. I think this is a great survival tool to have because, one, it has multiple applications, and I'm all about multiple applications. But that's another option you can have. And then another option you can actually use with the fire steel or with the lighter is this. It's made by, this is called Wet Fire, and it's made by Ultimate Survival Technologies. This is a really great stuff. I think you can actually get packs of this. This is great because what it is it's basically inside, it's a little nugget, or it's like fire tinder that has been compressed. Then it has some sort of coating, or they've infused it with some sort of igniter. What you do is you open the package and you take it and you shave off little bits of it, and you basically give it oxygen, and then you can strike it. You can strike it with an actual ferrocerium rod, and it works a lot better than some things. This is actually the Ultimate Survival Technologies. I think it's like a plunger. I'll actually do a separate review on this. It's a plunger style ferrocerium rod, which means that you pinch it and you plunge it downward into whatever you're trying to strike, and it actually ignites. And this works really great, especially if you only have one hand, or if it's really cold. I'll do a separate review on this because this is actually the second one that I've gone through, or this is the second one that I've ever owned of this actual brand. And the first one I owned, I literally beat to hell, and it literally started falling apart just because I use it so much. And it's a really great option if you're going to add to your survival kit. This is a really great option to have as a backup. And I have mine on a lanyard because sometimes I like to wear it around my neck if I'm doing outdoor stuff, or if I'm like around the campfire. It's always good to know where your actual fire lighting is. So that's always a good thing to kind of keep in mind. Let's see, what were we doing? So we got fire steels. This is the Light My Fire 2.0. Fire Steel by the Swedish by Light My Fire. It's a Swedish Fire Steel. It's a really good one. That's a really good option. I've used this one quite a bit. I actually replaced it and I got a smaller version, or the same version just in a different color. And this is a newer version. I haven't really used this one very much. And then I have a larger version. I haven't really gotten to use it because I don't know why, but I don't really prefer these larger ones. I think they're really great if you had to emergency, if you were in an emergency and you needed to leave your house in a, if you had to cut and run for a long period of time. I would say that this is the one that you want to take with you because it's got 12,000 strikes, and that's a lot. I mean, 12,000 strikes. That's a lot. That's a lifetime worth of striking, and fire building. And especially if you can use it efficiently one time per strike and get a fire going every single strike, that's 12,000 potential fires you can have, especially if you're really good at doing Fire Steel. And I prefer this method, like I said before, because it's just more primitive and it just really taps back into, your more primitive sense of mind, and it gives you a better understanding of how to actually start a fire and the basics of fire. And I've actually found that with my experience, when I have learned how to strike or use these ferrocerium rods for fire starting, I have a greater experience in how to actually start a fire better with a lighter, because it teaches you patience, and I'll kind of get into that in another video specifically about this series. And then this is a smaller version that I don't even know what brand this is because it doesn't have really any markings, and I can't really remember where I got it or how I got it. But I just know I ended up with it, and this thing is really awesome. And I've actually saved this. I've saved this usually if I'm doing outings for the day. I usually take this one with me just to have a little backup to my system. And this thing weighs, I mean, nothing. It's not even there. You could drop it in your pocket and totally forget that it's there. And it works for me. And I'm not sure what company makes this, and I'd like to find out. It does look similar to the actual Light My Fire Fire Steel, the Army model, and I don't know. I don't know if that's the same version or not. I already showed you the Ultimate Survival Technologies plunger style. This is this is a really old school model, and it doesn't even have the ferrocerium rod on it anymore. But this is a magnesium bar, and what you do is you actually scrape magnesium off of this into a nice little pile, and then you use your striker, your flint, your ferrocerium rod to actually strike it and shoot shards of burning magnesium onto, or I'm sorry, of burning. Anyways, you use the scraping method, and you actually shear off steel onto the magnesium pile, and that ignites, and that magnesium burns at a very high temperature. I think it's around the 5,000 degree or 5,000 degree Fahrenheit range, or maybe 2,000 degrees Celsius. I believe my calculations or my understanding of degrees in Celsius are right. I think it's right around that. I think the burn time is usually right around there, or the extreme heat that comes off the. So this is a good option to have. This is not my preferred method. I don't really prefer magnesium, just because I feel like when you're scraping magnesium off, you're wasting a lot of time. I can see the benefits in a very wet environment, but I feel as if magnesium just doesn't perform as well as other materials that you could be carrying with you, and other methods of lighting. And I feel that if you're really good at lighting magnesium, then that's great. But I don't really prefer this method, and that's just my honest opinion or my honest choice. I don't ever carry this with me. It's just a good backup system to have. And honestly, I feel like this is oxidized to the point where I don't really even feel safe using it anymore. It probably would work, but I don't know. It's just not my favorite anymore. So it kind of sits off to the side, but I do have it in case I need it. Let's see. The other systems that I have in place are obviously matches. So matches are always they're always a great way to start a fire. These are actually military grade matches. I got these in MRE packet, and you can find these in the MRE packets that they give to you in case of emergency purposes. You can buy them at military surplus stores. The MREs, you can buy those at military surplus stores, or you can contact maybe a local supply store and see if they carry them. I'm not really sure where exactly to find those. They're a little bit hard to come by. My brother-in-law is in the military, so he every now and then he'll hook me up with MREs, or he has in the past, and I've collected these over time. So I have like hundreds and hundreds of these little tiny matches, and these are really great. I like to stick these pretty much in at least two of these in my pack, or if I'm going on a long backpack trip, because sometimes when your lighter fails and you're really tired and you don't really feel like starting it the traditional way, matches are just the best way to go. And these matches particularly are really kind of cool because they're wet proof, so they can actually resist moisture. It says actually on the package, it says these matches are designed especially for damp climates, but they will not light when wet or after long exposure of very damp air for several weeks. That's a great. I mean, these aren't the ultimate matches that you would want to carry, but they work for me because I don't really use matches all that much, but when I do, I usually use these versions of matches, and these just work for me because I know that these can get somewhat damp and I can still use them. Obviously, there are better matches out there that will work a lot better for the job, and I'm sure that there are other options out there that are better. But these work for me, and these are what I have, so I use them. And matches are always a great method. What more can I say? The last method. It's not my preferred method, but I have dabbled with it in the past. This is a flint and steel. This is my steel, or I made this basically. This is one that I made. I forged it out of I think it's out of 1095 carbon steel that I found. It was just old rod that was laying around, very rusted, and I used it to actually make my own. And this is just my own design, and it fits me, and it fits my purposes that I need it for. And it's used. When I've used it in the past, it has worked. And the essential idea behind a flint and steel striker, it's been used for thousands of years. Going back way back to the time of at least the Vikings. Probably even further back than that. I know this is the more traditional style of actually starting a fire, and what you're supposed to do is you get your organic material or your char cloth or whatever you're using to actually start your fire. You want to aerate it as first as possible, and you actually come down and you strike with a lot of force against the actual material, against the actual against the actual rock or the actual striker itself with the steel, and that shears off shards of the actual steel, causing bits of flaming steel to actually penetrate and hit the object that you're trying to light on fire, which then in turn burns, and then you use that to create an ember, and then start your fire from there. It's a little bit more complicated, but it's just one of those other methods that I sometimes use or have used in the past. I do need to take this thing and really get it down smaller. I just have been really lazy and haven't really been too excited to actually chip it down and use it. And I just found this out walking. One day I found the actual rock itself, and I knew what kind of rock it was, so I kind of split it open using a hammer or using another rock too. And I originally brought it home to make arrowheads or different things that I wanted to use with it. But I have since been using it with my striker for those just simple tasks. And these are just like simple. This is like the old school way of doing things. And if you're one of those old school kind of persons or old school kind of guys that really likes that, that's a really cool method. And then you can also use your knife blade if you needed to. If you were in a pinch and you had to start a fire, you could always have a cotton ball on you with your knife and find one of these rocks laying around, and you usually find these near like riverbeds or things like that, and deposit it, and then you strike down using your knife blade edge to kind of strike down, and it creates sparks and can do essentially the same thing. That's extreme, but I do know that you could probably do that. So it's good to carry a carbon steel blade because I think that does a lot better the striking. Or at least that's what I've learned. It does a lot better with striking capabilities. But that's really it. That's all my fire techniques and all the things that I've learned or all the things that I know, and usually carry it with me. I usually carry at least three systems of fire with me, so I have three backups. And like the military saying goes, you know, uh, two is one and one is none, and three is two. So obviously the math works. And that being said, I guess that's really all I got to say for now. And you guys have fun out there and be safe and don't cut yourselves. Zach out.